Welcome guys, and this is lesson 2 of topic 9.11 algebraic notation. So this time we have your LO at the top. It's to be able to simplify an expression to show it as an algebraic term. So this will happen a lot. You'll be given two terms together or maybe more, and they can be simplified further, so not leaving them as an expression. First of all, can you get that copied down, and then can you pause this video and spend 10 minutes working through the retrieval task. Pointer. So for the first problem, what is 35% of 120? So we assume that we don't need to assume, the 120 is our 100%. So we manipulate this now to get it to 35%. So if I divide by 10, our 100% becomes 10%, which is 12. If I then divide that by 2, I get 5%, which is 6. So I just have to times my 10% by 3, and then add my 5%, giving me 35% of 40, which is 42. Here we have 7g plus 2g squared minus t plus 3. So they want us to simplify it. So we have to look for like terms. So our base variable here is g. It's to the power of 1. So it is not like this term, because this has the variable of g again, except this is squared. Then we have a t variable, which doesn't show up again, and we have a constant of 3, so nothing can be combined together. Here we have 30 consoles costing £1,675. Again, if we know what 30 are, we can divide that by 30 on both sides, and it will give us the cost of one console. I've just put C for shorthand. So we got 55.83 reoccurring. I've tried to do it at the top here, just so you can see. So now if I know what one console is, if I want to find out how much 5 costs, I just have to times my answers by 5, and then this answer here has been rounded, so it's £279.16 with the 6 reoccurring pence. So I've just rounded that to 2 decimal place, because if we're talking about cash money, then it's only going to be to 2 decimal place, isn't it? So now a pair of numbers that have a lowest common multiple of 56, I'm going to do the same that I did last lesson. So I'm just going to put one of my numbers as 56, and then just put the other number as a factor of 56, so that when I write out my list of multiples, they are all going to go through 56. So we know 8 times by 8 times by 7 is going to give us 56. 4 times by 14 is going to give me 56, and so on. For this one here, I ignored the decimal points and did 257 times by 302. That gave me an answer of 77,614. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers after the decimal point, so I must have had 4 numbers after the decimal point in my answer, so the decimal point must go here. What is 56.5% as a decimal and as a fraction? So as a decimal, I have to divide it by 100. So I move the decimal point 1 place, 2 places, leave me with 0.565. To do it as a fraction, I still divide it by 100, but I leave it in a fractional format. So now I want to get rid of this decimal, so I times the top and the bottom by 10, sorry. So I just move the decimal point once, and I add a 0 onto the bottom. Then I've noticed that both of these are divisible by 5, because one ends in a 0 and one ends in a 5. Turns out that this equivalent fraction is the simplified form of this. So there is your answer. Make sure you keep a note of how many you've got correct, and make a little mental note of any ones that you need to practice on. Okay, so here's the success criteria for the day. A little bit fuller than it was last time. So when a coefficient and a variable are next to each other, so like it is here, 3p, That means we've got 3 lots of p. So 3 times p. It means they're multiplied together. Okay. When a variable, that's our unknown, and a coefficient are on opposite sides of a fraction, like this, 6 over a, that means 6 divided by a. So we're just understanding how the operations are displayed in our expressions, what they look like. A variable indices increases or decreases when it is multiplied together by the same variable. Okay, so let's see some examples, some simple ones. So here we have our base variable of p. All of them are p. And they are all being multiplied together. So that's the same as p cubed. Just like if we had 2 times 2 times 2. The way that we'd put that in index form is we'd say, right, well, we've got the number 2 and it's multiplied by itself an extra 2 times. So as there's 3 2's, it will be 2 cubed. Pause the video now and give yourselves 30 seconds to try and solve the we do. Okay, now that you've had a bit of time, so we have our base variable of m both times, so it's just going to be m squared, because as you see, there's 2 of them. Give yourself a mark if you've got that one correct. There's another one of the we do's. So here we have the number 8, and then it's also times by 2 p's. So like we said earlier, whenever we're multiplying, we can just get rid of the multiplication symbol to simplify it. So we're just going to have 8 and then p and then squared because there's 2 p's. Remember to keep your indices high when you're drawing these. We don't want them to drop and it look like we've got 8 times p times 2. Pause the video and give yourselves 30 seconds to try and solve this we do. So remember, people, you can look to the success criteria if you need the help, like we were saying here. They're always there, that's what they're there for. So to simplify this, we have m times 5. Well, just because it's the done thing in maths, I'm going to bring my coefficients to the start. So it doesn't matter that it says times 5 at the end, I'm just going to write at the start. So we've got 5 times by m, and it's squared because we have 2 m's. Again, give yourself a mark if you've got both of the we do's right on this page. Well done. Let's see how we get on the next page. Okay, so as we can see now, there's a lot more. So now we have 2 integers. We have a times by 4 and a times by 2. I can simplify and bring them 2 together. So 4 times 2 gives me 8. And now we have our base variable of m twice. So we're going to have m squared. And then we also have p 3 times, so p cubed. And that is fully simplified. Pause the video and give yourselves a minute to work through the first we do on this page. It's our 3rd in total. Okay, so again we've got the integers 4 and 5 multiplying, so that will give us 20. How many m's do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, so we're going to have m cubed. And then we have, do a little double line for these, 2 p's, so p squared. Give yourself a mark if you got that right. If you were unsure, maybe you could do the lines here, the varied lines, to help differentiate and pair what you need to remember. So for the I do, now we've only got the 4, so I'm going to put the 4 at the start. Then we've got 2m squared, we've got 2 m's, sorry. And then we've got 2 p's, so it's going to be m squared, p squared. So, now that you're on the we do, give yourselves a minute, pause the video, and see if you can get the 4th one right. Okay, so our 5's at the end for convention. I'm going to bring that to the start. That's our coefficient. So now how many m's do we have? Right, so we have 3 m's all multiplied together, so that's m cubed. We also have 3 p's all multiplied together, so that's going to be p cubed. Again, give yourself the mark if you did that right. Think about what practice you could be bringing to the game if you didn't get that right. Remember that your success criteria is always here to help you. Okay, so now we're looking at equivalence expressions. So we've been given 8mp. So if we remember, that means that we've got 8 times m times p. The operations are multiplication. So we need to circle the correct expressions. So 8 plus m plus p it's not what we're after. Again, the m and the p here are added to one another, so that's not what we're at. Here again we have an add, so that's not going to work. 8 times m times p, if we simplified that, we would just get 8mp. So that works perfectly. Just on a little side note, this could also say 8 times p times m, and that would also work, because the order during multiplication does not matter. And finally, we have 4 times m times p times 2. So we could collect the 4 and the 2 and times them together to get 8, and then mp. So the bottom two are equivalent. Can anyone think about where else we've seen the word equivalent as well? And what does it sort of mean? We see it in fractions, don't we? So, can you pause the video now and give yourselves 2 minutes to try and solve this we do? I think we're on our 5th we do problem here. Okay, so here we go. So we have 5ps. So it's not going to be the first one. Again, we have an addition here, just like we did up here. So it's not going to be the second one. 5sp. Oh, it's sprung up. So the s and the p aren't the way around that it's represented here, but that doesn't matter, because 3 times 2 is still the same as 2 times 3. We get 6 both times. Again, we have an addition here, so that's not going to work. And finally, 5 times s times p times 1. If we bring the 5 and the 1, times them together, we get 5. The s and the p, they're both multiplied, so sp, so that works. Again, give yourself the mark if you got that right. Really well done. This is trying to trip you up. It's trying to point out the errors that most people make. Okay, so this one we need to state whether the following is true or false. So again, like we discussed before, this here means m times p, and this means p times m. So that is true. All we have done is swapped around the order of the multiplication, and it will not change the answer. Put some values in if you want to see if that works. Is 5 times 2 the same as 2 times 5? M times p, is that equal to m plus p? No, that is false. Again, you can put in some numerical values if you want to try and see if this works. So m minus p is equal to minus p plus m. That is true, because what we've done is we have a positive m here and we have a negative p. So let's have a look on the other side. We have a positive m here and a negative p. The positive symbol here you just don't see, it's assumed. Okay, so pause the video and give yourselves 3 minutes, so that you have some time to put some numbers in if you're not sure, to state whether these are true or false. So we are on our 6th we do now. So now we need to state whether the following is true or false. So m divided by p is not equal to p divided by m. That is true. So 5m divided by p is not equal to m divided by 5p. So on the left hand side, we are timesing by 5, and on the right hand side, we're dividing by 5. So that most of the time is going to have an effect on both of our answers, a different effect. So therefore that is also true. So here we have our variable of m on both sides. We have a coefficient of 5/6, and here we also have a coefficient of 5/6, so all of them are true. They were quite tricky and abstract, so really well done if you got all of those right. And if you didn't get the last ones right, do not worry, because now is a time for you to familiarise yourself with these types of expressions and get used to what you're looking at and what they're representing and what they're saying. So now, can you pause the video and spend 3 minutes trying to discover whether the following statements are true? Okay, and on to the next slide. Here are your answers. So make sure you make a note of how many you've got right from the first set of 6. Remember, the success criteria is still there to help you. So now I've got a little red light, green light, amber light system. So the green light are the easier problems. The amber, the 2-star, are the trickier ones, and the 3-star, the red, are the trickiest. So depending on where you're feeling right now, having given what has gone in the previous part of the lesson, choose where you think is going to test you the most. Choose where you think you can still grow and get a few right, but make sure you're picking a section where you are putting yourself in a position of a bit of challenge. So pause the video now and give yourselves 10 minutes to work through the section that you choose. If the section turns out to be too easy, move up. If it turns out to be too hard, move down and try and work through. Feel free to complete more than one section. Pause the video now. Okay, so here are your answers. Give yourself a mark out of the number that you attempted, and keep a note of that. How well did you do? Now is a chance for you to reflect on how well you thought you did. What did you find difficult? What did you find easy? Remember to send your work over to your teacher, guys. And feel free to go back through the video or contact one of your teachers if there's any ideas from this lesson that you'd like a second view on, if you'd like some more advice. Right, have a nice day. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.